Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Franchise Pearson, and welcome again to my channel. It is Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, August 19th of 2025. I have 10:05 in the a.m. Let's say it together. Praise God, from whom all blessings flow. People, the older I get, the less I am convinced when it comes down to the news that things are coincidence. The more I watch the news, the more I realize that things are not coincidence. I'm going to show you two quick videos, and you're going to see the colors of the Tiffany blue and the purple, of which I have been talking about for over 4+ years. This particular video is talking about yesterday's meeting, Mr. Z and Trump, and the progress that has been made thus far. And right off the bat, as soon as I looked at the reporters, I saw the colors. And again, I do not believe in coincidence. Then we're going to go from there and segue off into this video in relation to the rise in teen crime and how this Attorney General is praising Trump for what he's doing in DC. And like I've been pointing out, since Trump has brought in troops, and arguably armed troops, and 3 governors are sending troops, this is the trend that I'm predicting. And it's coming to your town. And they're going to justify it on the way. And as they justify it on the way, I'm going to point it out.
Interview I did want to share with you here on Live Now from Fox right now.
47th President Donald J. Trump. Mr. President, thanks so much for joining Fox and Friends this morning.
Good morning. That's quite a crew. That's quite a crew.
Well, Mr. President, the whole world was watching yesterday as you got leaders from the European Union, NATO, as well, from all over the world. How did you get them to Washington, to the Oval Office, so fast?
Well, I think really they have respect for our country again. A year ago, they wouldn't have come. They wouldn't have even thought about it. Now, we've become the hottest country anywhere in the world. Everybody wants to be here. When I made the call, they came. And they said there's really never been anything like it. You know, you'd have one president or one prime minister, but there's never been, such a group. And these really represent the European nations, these people. And they're very good people. And they want to end the war, that horrible war with Ukraine and Russia. It's a horrible war.
It was such a sense of unity, and we all enjoyed watching it because America is on top, and it was on your turf, on your terms. I know yesterday you talked about arranging a meeting to take place in 2 weeks between Putin and Zelensky. Is there an update there, and do you plan to attend?
No, I thought I'd do first let them meet. You know, they haven't been exactly best friends. They haven't gotten along very well. And I called President Putin yesterday, and I do have a good relationship, but it only matters if we get things done. Otherwise, I don't care about the relationship. I do have a good relationship with him, but I want to get things done. You know, I've solved 7 wars.
Well, from all...
Now, what this does, I want you to understand the setting. It's very important. The powers do not participate or engineer news to us without several points. So you are watching also a solidifying of nations, of countries, of organizations.
What's more satisfying?
You're literally watching under the guise of peace. This is the perfect moment to galvanize a unilateral force, an image of national and international leaders coming together. This in part is very important to them because they have to give the impression and set the stage and set a base for the future, for his imminence, that is the Antichrist. I'm gonna say it again. This WAR, in which all these nations came together to meet with Trump, because he's a setup man, it is in one form to display to the world a gallant approach of unification. That if the world can see that leaders have come together and drunk from the trough, drinking from the trough of the USA, we are now being conditioned that that's how things are going to be in the future. And it will be, because there is a one world concept. So they have this WAR, and they can utilize it in such a way that they condition us and get us ready for a one world system in which a body of representatives go beyond the traditional NATO, go beyond the traditional United Nations, go beyond anything that anyone has tried to formalize. This WAR would now, in my humble opinion, spearhead. Now, getting back to these colors, right off the bat, you can see the Tiffany blue and the purple. I've mentioned before that there was a group back in the day called the Phoenicians. They were a dastardly group. They literally unalived babies and other people. They did it for blood sacrifice. They worshiped Baal, Moloch, and Satan. They went to the trough and they said, look, we are in relationship with you dark entities. We want something more in the world than what we have. The spirit realm responds back to them and says, well, give me blood. When you give me blood, you honor me. When you give me blood, you feed my realm so I can grow. Then once you do that, I will allow you to grow. You can have more riches, gold, diamonds, silver. You can have more land. You can have more rank. As archaic as that sounds, this is how the golden age is being developed and presented in our day. And I'm just going to say allegedly, this is why you see the colors of purple and Tiffany blue, because the Phoenicians, their claim to fame, their color was purple. They used to go out to the sea and collect clams and seashells. In there was a purple dye. Only the royalty had that. It was in their crowns and other things. Their secondary color was a Tiffany blue, more like this. It won't always be the same shade, but you see like a Tiffany blue here? But this is what's going on here. When you look at this, that's what this is about. This is literally about representing the cause and the goals and objectives of the spirit realm. They get something, and the people who represent them, they get something. And then they leave their print by showing their symbology of purple and blue. The Tiffany blue is in their artifacts and their vases. When you research the history of the Phoenicians, this is what you find. And to me, what this represents is the spirit of America in conjunction with this. Do you understand? This is what's going on in front of us. I would decode that, but I'm gonna leave it alone. So I think that's IELLI, not sure, but this is what's going on here. Now, what I want you to hear is from this gentleman here talking about youth crime And not only in one particular part of America, but around the United States, crime is up. And what we need to do about it. Listen very carefully, because again, this also is a conditioning process for, and in relation to a playbook, I believe they already have. They just have to sell it and justify it along the way before they do it. They've already cracked the mold, and the additional police and the troops are already in DC, and they're coming to other cities. Watch this.
What's causing this?
This particular story is a tragic and sad example of what we're seeing statistically across the country, that there's been a spike in teen-on-teen violence. And not just teen-on-teen violence, but teen violence in general. And it's a very alarming thing. We've met with the FBI on several movements like the 764 Gore movement, which teens are recruiting other teens to perform violent and gory acts against themselves and other people, including suicide. On social media websites, we're seeing gangs recruit kids as young as 10 years old because they're sophisticated enterprises and they know that these children can't be incarcerated as long when they're caught by police officers. So, I mean, this is something that I'm very concerned about.
So, Mr. Attorney General, when we look at the numbers, I mean, it just tells the story. The aggravated assaults are up almost. When you look at the homicides, 121 in 2024. In 2023, it was 122. Robbery in 2024 was 553, and then for 2023 it was 556. These are FBI statistics. So it's not just the murders, it's the robberies, it's the assaults. There needs to be discipline, not only when it comes in the households, but also in our criminal justice system, right?
Absolutely, Lawrence, and obviously what we're seeing the president do in Washington, D.C. is a great example of what we can do. Robust, aggressive policing in communities where crime is at an all-time high. We need to have a police presence. We need to have police that are supported by their local officials, that are adequately staffed, adequately funded, adequate resource. We need to have pro-law enforcement policies. This would act as a deterrent to the crime from even ever happening in that community, but we need to get...
Are you feeling what's about to happen? Are you feeling this? And look at the news, they can't get enough of it. More troops to DC. Gang-related shooting here. You're going to continue to see it. I mean, I pointed out the other day, procession held for 2 officers shot in Tremonton. You're going to continue to see this push. I believe this is a playbook, and we're in the final chapter. And I believe what they're doing, they're selling this thing, they're pushing this thing. This will now make you understand, like here in Chicago, why they allowed BLM and Antifa to run amok, tear things up. And my best guess is about 30-something% of the police officers here in Chicago quit. They would not work under that type of order. Now you're bringing in young recruits and you're training them. You're training them. Well, people, it takes years and situations of experience to understand what and what not to do in the streets as a police officer. So if I had to guess, I would guess that over 40% of the police officers in all our major cities after BLM and Antifa, they're working with rookie officers. So now your life is in the hands of your partner who doesn't really know, and they have to get the knowledge quick, a fast track. People, it was a setup. I want you to see it plain as day. It was a setup. It was a setup, and now we're here. The district attorneys allowing things to be so liberal, allowing these convicted criminals light sentences or no sentences at all, repeat offenders. The police, like if you go and watch a lot of videos from the past, even now, about the time the ink is dry, the criminal was out after the police did his or her work. And now they want to scream, crime is up. Well, what the hell you expect it to be? What do you expect it to be? So now let's go after the youth. A mother and father just celebrated a child being born. 16, 17 years old, out of a pamper. And now we're going to go after them. And when you flip it, we're burying 14, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old gang members or people who want to act like thugs. This was all planned. They know how to make this environment come alive. And now they're in a phase where the media is interviewing people and the powers are speaking. This is what we need. DC is a prime example of what we need now. But they've got to do it in such a fashion now, a little bit differently. They got to tweak it a little bit differently because DC is federal. It doesn't have the same type of arrangement. It has a mayor. Not a governor? It has a mayor. And by the same token, Trump can exercise beyond the norm and say, I can bring in troops. How can they justify doing it in cities like Chicago, LA, and trust me, Chicago, a lot of these kids are stupid. They're just stupid. I'm not saying intellectually stupid. You have taken the bait. You've joined the gangs. You've unalived people. You've sacrificed people. You wanted money. You wanted to sell drugs. Whatever you're doing, that's what you're doing. Senior citizens don't come out of their house after 4 or 5 o'clock at night because they're scared to run the street, to go and shop. Families don't shop in our communities the way they're supposed to help the small businesses in the community. They take those black dollars, and let's just not make it black. Families in general leave out of the cities and go to the suburbs and spend their money. So the city is suffering economically due to the crime. Having babies after babies after babies. Not thinking after the first baby, keep your legs closed. Now you got 2 or 3. Now y'all on social media crying the blues about the predicament that you're in and the men that you chose to sleep with. And over 50% of them is either in jail or deadbeat dads. Or like I did a report a few months ago, some guys deliberately want to get a woman pregnant so she can pass on his seed because he know he going to prison or he know he going to die. This is the sick environment that we are in. And I told y'all, it's coming. When you don't go by God's simple order, his simple pretense, what are you going to do? You're left with the Antichrist making a move. You decided to drop out of school, don't want to go to get a trade, at least 2-year trade, don't get a degree, don't want to learn English. All you speak is Ebonics. Can't nobody understand you but your group. Those are your homies. You don't want to dot your I's, cross your T's. You don't want to dress right. You don't want to act right. You want sagging and looking wild and crazy and smelling like reefer all day. You want that to be the norm. And society is depicting that. Look at the billboards. Look at the videos. They're not depicting young men and women, by and large, a high percentage of looking like they're decent. America is pushing the thug life because they have to justify that they're going to start locking up not only you, but they're going to lock down the communities. The wayward children don't see the plan. The days of Malcolm X and Dr. King, and we can debate who was right and who was wrong on another video, but all that is out, it's done. They're not thinking about that. They're not thinking about stability. The new parent is the rap video. The new parent is social media. The new parent is getting between a girl's legs and giving her a baby and calling her B and a H. The new parent is a woman getting on a video upside down, shaking her butt and calling her girlfriends the B word. That's the new parent. In other words, that's the new guidance. When you have wayward children, you are putting yourself in the hands of a system that never liked you. They couldn't get your parents because we knew better, but they can get you because you're the next generation. They don't care about those 40, 50, 60 years old. You know, we're going to be gone at some point. They're going to focus on the youth. So when you're out here, a lot of them being hired to vandalize these convenience stores and gas stations. You're being used to change the social construct of your environment. The Bible simply says in the book of Genesis, after God created us, he said, go out and subdue the earth. Subdue means to manage. You don't manage like this. If you continue to manage like this, you're asking for control. And that's what they're going to give us. Listen to what he's saying.
Justice system, right?
Absolutely, Lawrence. And obviously what we're seeing the president do in Washington, D.C. is a great example of what we can do. Robust, aggressive policing in communities where crime is at an all-time high. We need to have a police presence. We need to have police that are supported.
They're coming. They're coming. And the majority of kids won't even watch this here. Won't even watch it. Won't even know that people like me covered it. And by the same token, the dark God algorithm won't let it out. So I can get 40,000, 50,000, 100,000 views. Y'all understand the game? Won't even let the brother have a fair shot at trying to save these children. This is the kind of world we're living in, y'all. Those who know better want to set the best example. We don't have a voice, not in a big level. We don't. They don't let us out there. If they do, we're shut down, called crazy, call you an OG, old timer. You're a square, you don't know what you're talking about. Leave us alone, we got our rights. When the Bible simply says, train a child direction he or she will go, and they will not depart. This is the result of being departed before you actually depart, which is death.